Well, good afternoon and welcome to BBRC Britain and English. Well, thank you very much for joining me now here today on this special session where I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Halloween. Well, it's coming shortly on the 31st of October. It's an old pagan festival, but might have its roots in Christianity, but we're not too sure. But certainly most churches don't observe it these days. And many of the practices and rituals that we know of today actually come from America, but possibly originally came from Europe. Well, we're not really sure. But the only day the church observed close to it is All Saints' Day. Well, and this is what what's said by the Bible, and I quote here: Scripture says that believers are supposed to become all things to all men, so that by all possible means they might save some. 1 Corinthians 9:22. These verses make it clear what a Christian should not do. Make similar Bible verses condemn pagan practices. So it's big part. Many similar Bible verses condemn pagan practices there, but none specifically warn against observing Halloween. But the church do actually try and put people off observing, especially with some of the things that happen these days in society. Sometimes, I mean, when I was at school, we were always told not to go out because you can scare people with shouting trick or treat and going around people's doors, which is mostly frowned upon and certainly not advised with children. Perhaps leaving us a few sweets out for them is okay, but all this about wizards and witches is probably something vaguely linked to the early rituals and beliefs. Halloween is thought to have its roots in Christian beliefs and practices. The name Halloween comes from All Hallows Eve, being the evening before the Christian holy days of All Hallows Day, All Saints' Day on November the 1st, and All Souls' Day on the 2nd of November. So there we are. But probably pagan, certainly long before that. And Samhain, Samhain. Samhain is a pagan religious festival originating from an ancient Celtic spiritual tradition in modern times. Samhain, a Gaelic word pronounced Samhain, is usually celebrated from October the 31st to November the 1st to welcome in the harvest and usher in the dark half of the year. We're certainly getting darker here. So that's a little bit about Halloween. And you may see children going around shouting trick or treat, dressed up in very strange costumes. But some of the practices when there's a Halloween party, not really advised and can be far removed from the actual truth of the event originally. And certainly cutting up coffins and things like that and pretending there's a body in there, certainly nothing godly about that. There's nothing related to Christianity, so be on your guard about what you're observing there. Well, I'd like to now put another area which will be certainly of interest to my international friends. Certainly if you want to come to Great Britain, come to England, the island of Great Britain, you'll want to know about the notes. Now, we use pounds and pence here. I've actually got some notes here, which I'm going to show you, which you might, well, like to know a little bit more about, because we do use pounds here, not dollars, as some people tend to think from abroad. And we, as you know, we left the European Union, but we never joined the euro, which I think was about 2001. So we kept our own denomination, our own currency here, and much to most people's pride there and happiness. Now, I'll just go through some of the notes here. That's a £5 note. The observant amongst you will realise the Queen is on all notes. And we have another one of popular, respectable figure on the other side of the note. On the £5 note is Winston Churchill. £10 note. By the way, these are all polymer notes. They're all polymer, which means they're just coated in a bit of plastic just to try and make them last longer. And they started about 2 or 3 years ago. And there we are, we have another note here. And you may realise a slightly orange in colour as well. There we are. I adore, big one, I declare after all, there is more enjoyment like there's no enjoyment like reading. There we are. And there we are, that's Jane Austen there. And nice photograph there as well. So that's the £10 note with Jane Austen. So we've got Winston Churchill and Jane Austen. And the next one, on the higher denomination notes, £20 note. There we are. Now, there's another gentleman on there from yesteryear. And they don't have right this small here. Because it's quite new note, some of these. Joseph Malford, William Turner, they are 1775 to 1853, I believe. That's the £20 note. The 10, you can see they're all slightly different colour to avoid being confused. The 5, you'll see a lot of those. And also the higher denomination, I've only got an old one. I found this one in an old wallet, didn't know I had. So, but this is an old paper £50 note. Certainly smaller these days, and all these, by the way, these notes are all getting smaller. Every time there's a new one, they do get slightly smaller. Slightly, they are devaluing, as you'd expect, with inflation. But there we are, that's an old £50 note. There we are. There's now a polymer version out as well. And here we are, this is the old £50 note, as I say, with James Watt, there we are. The industrialist now, James Watt, there we are. 1736 to 1819. Well, there we are. And we've got next to, we've got two on this one. Matthew Bolton, 1728 to 18, I believe it's 1809. 1809, there we are. Fundamental in the Industrial Revolution there. Well, there we are, there's a couple of notes. And in fact, if you want to have a quick look, that's the old £10 note, the old paper £10 note. So same sort of colour. We've got Charles Darwin on that one. Now just, if you want any comparisons, which won't be necessary, but you can tell they are slightly smaller. Just part of the towel there, slightly smaller. Similar really in design. And that's the UK notes with the coins. 50p, 50 pence that is. Pound coin there. 2-tone there. 10 pence. Lower value coins here as well. 10 pence there. And then you've got 2s and 1s, so the 5p as well, it's a lot smaller. If you were going to write £10, you would normally just write £10 with the pound sign at the beginning. Although some people tend to get it wrong. £10 with the pound, don't forget the pound sign at the start. And like, for example, £2.70, so pound sign then 2.70. We don't write it the pence normally when we're using the pound, we just write the pounds. So it's £10, 50, it's 10. So it's pound sign 10.50. So that's how it is. And if you ever get to come to England, some of you from abroad, you'll be using these coins, especially the ordinary notes. And I will say, £50 notes are very seldom used. Certainly in shops, they prefer to see the probably £10 to £5 notes if you're paying in cash. Although of course people these days do tend to use more cards, but they're trying to make sure the cash is used as well, because it's important to keep cash important. So always make sure you've got cash, because some shops will not take cards. And of course, for the smaller items, the smaller denominations, and smaller bills, you can obviously use the £5 note or the odd few coins here, which always have a few pound coins, a good £3 or £4 as well for bus fares and things, and make sure that you don't just go around with a £50 note. I saw some American tourists a while ago trying to catch a bus with a £50 note, and albeit that's an old one, as you well know, but they won't take the £50 notes. You need to make sure you've got, well, preferably some change. But I think in London, normally they promote you buying the tickets beforehand, so you buy a travel card. But you might want to catch another bus outside somewhere, so don't always base it on London. You'll need to have the cash as you board the bus. So, but let's say not the £50 note. Make sure you've got a fiver and some pound coins. But you'll be pleased to know that cash and cards are normally accepted, but a lot of places don't take cards for smaller denominations, or they may charge, but things are changing over the years. But do get yourself some cash. Now, next time round, we're going to talk a little bit about Guy Fawkes Night, which comes on the 5th of November. And then after that, at some point, we will talk about Remembrance Sunday. So that's a few areas of interest in cultural, what should we say, festivals and remembrances, commemorations in Britain at this time of year. Thank you very much.